Hello, 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 ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, yeah.
And we are live now with the fifth dimension. How are you guys doing today? We've got a very power-packed episode specifically on Xenoblade Chronicles 3. It's finally here, along with many other guests and friends, all Xenoblade fans. Let's go through the numbers right now. First, introducing Miss Click. How you doing today?
Oh, ladies first. Okay. Hi, guys. Good to be here. I'm ready to go, and I'm curious to see everybody's takes on everything tonight.
Oh, it's gonna be good. You already know. Moving on, we have Antasma. How you doing today, brother?
Hello, everyone. Hello, Xenoblade 3. I'm hyped. I literally cannot shut up about this game, so I'm ready to talk about it.
Oh, I know you're ready to talk about it. And for the first time ever, finally I gotcha! OJ, Mr. Player Essence, how you doing today?
I'm doing so good. I'm happy to be here, and Jesus Christ, I am ready to talk about Xenoblade Chronicles 3, man.
Oh, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be grand. And right there with the Aegis Blade, Pirate's
Right.
Aegis Blade, we've got Roger's Base!
What is going on, everybody? Hello, hello. I am also ready to theorycraft in particular. I think there's a lot of stuff in that trailer that we can talk about and break down. So maybe by the time you leave this stream, you're going to know what the plot of Xenoblade 3 is.
I just noticed that Pikachu on your bed behind you. It looks very tired. Like,
He's chilling.
moving on, we have my good friend Stealth 40K. How you doing today, good sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. You know, I absolutely demanded to be on this show because I love Xenoblade so much.
Matt, yo, Xenoblade, that's great series to love. Do not sleep on this series. Thank you so much for being here. And of course, last but not least, everyone please welcome Monster Maze. How you doing? I know you're hyped.
Oh yeah, great to be here, man. Like it's nice to be here for something other than Zelda for a change, because believe it or not, I like stuff besides Zelda as well.
What? Nah, man. What? Excuse me? There ain't no way.
Well, Xenoblade Chronicles 1 and 2 are probably my favorite Switch games besides Breath of the Wild. So yeah,
Good
very
choice.
fitting to be here.
Very good choice, and thank you so much for being here. And of course, my name is HMK. I am your host, master of ceremonies, and mediator of today's episode of The Fifth Dimension. We are ready to go. Let's get it. That Nintendo Direct was super hyped. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is here, and it is coming out in September. According to the director of the game, apparently the game is about to go gold, and it's ready to go, and it will crash the worlds together, the futures of the worlds of Xenoblade Chronicles 1 and 2. But after playing 2 and a little bit of Future Connected and Torna, that shouldn't be a surprise to Xenoblade fans. I'm really excited, but let's get the ball going, and I'm going to throw it first to OJ since he hasn't been on the Fifth Dimension before. So, what do you think about Xenoblade Chronicles 1 and 2 finally, confirmed to merge into one game?
It was expected. If you've played Xenoblade Chronicles 2, if you've played Xenoblade Chronicles The Future Connected, obviously you knew that there was something that was leading up to it. There was a bigger, grandiose story. So it's really super hype to finally get this game and get probably, maybe even, I know we might get into this later, the conclusion of Xenoblade. Maybe even the conclusion, and maybe even the conclusion of Xenoblade, and then they move on to Xeno whatever else. But this definitely seems, like I said, we'll talk about it later, but it definitely seems like this could be the conclusion of all of Xenoblade and this saga as a trilogy with a couple side parts here and there, with Torna as like a side part, and also with Future Connected as another side part than the main games of Xenoblade 1 and Xenoblade 2. Now this game here. The original Xenosaga was a trilogy as well, so this could be trying to connect that. So this is very exciting to see how this all wraps, because it looks like this is going to be their most ambitious project. Yeah, no, it is. No, this is their most ambitious, so I can't wait.
No, I definitely agree with you, and the aspect of at first hearing the end of Xenoblade, I understand the end of the Xenoblade story trilogy. I'm down for that, because I was about to say, you're gonna make a lot of Xenoblade cross fans mad who's been waiting for Xenoblade X2 or Xenoblade X Definitive Edition, because I know, look, I love Xenoblade before any of y'all try to bite my head off and stuff. I love Xenoblade, but I will die on the hill in stating the fact that Xenoblade Chronicles X, that story was super mid, right? And I see a lot of people wanting to continue the story. I'm like, okay, listen, I want scales. I want to like enjoy a seamless connected world, and hopefully Xenoblade Chronicles 3, and that's going to be leading into the next point after we get everyone's spiel about, you know, Xenoblade 1 and 2 connecting. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 actually looks like it's going to be doing something that Xenoblade Chronicles games have not done outside of X, and that is have a completely interconnected, seamless world. Because if you guys remember, X is the only game that did that. 1, 2, Torna, Future Connected had it has
segmented areas.
Segmented areas. I was gonna say
The hype overtook him. That's why.
compartmentalized. Yes, compartmentalized.
There you go.
Sections.
There you go.
There you go. And
Just
X,
after you say, man, I don't even.
right? X is the only game that didn't do that. Like you, as soon as you jump into a scale, you can go anywhere you want, and just like it lasts to load in, but you can still go there, right? So we're gonna talk about that aspect. Like OJ said, the most ambitious game that Monosoft, apparently wants to put out, and maybe just maybe we'll have scales come back in Xenoblade Chronicles 3, because we've seen that one faction deals with mechanized armors like mobile suits or whatnot. But Miss Click, I want to ask you about how do you feel about 1 and 2 finally merging into 3?
So I have a little bit different relationship with Xenoblade than a lot of people, because I still consider myself newer to them. Also, I mean, for a lot of reasons, which if you know me, you know why. But I think what's cool is with Xenoblade is it's kind of become something more for a lot of people. And I think especially with the definitive edition, a lot of people didn't get a chance to play the original Xenoblade. And if anything, it was like back in the day, it was on the Wii, it was a choice for a lot of people. It was one game over another. And I think Xenoblade kind of got chosen over. And I'm glad now that a lot of people are giving it a chance, especially with the definitive edition that came out. I've heard of so many people who fall in love with the series and they've gone on to play 2 and Torna. As someone who is a spectator for the longest time, coming in and really loving Chronicles and being someone who is an observer when it comes to 2, I think it's going to be really interesting to see how the worlds kind of come together and build this kind of universe that I personally think they're going to conclude it and kind of like bring it as a complete to a whole and then focus on the other series. I think that would honestly be a really healthy pace. I think if you start milking things out too long, it's kind of unhealthy after a certain point, and it starts to get kind of watered down or convoluted, and it's like a TV show that goes on too long. It's like, okay, like you're just starting to add stuff in. Like, keep it golden, keep it what makes it magical. So I am really excited. I know that the trailer had so many details thrown in there that it's kind of like dissecting it, watching even y'all going to all y'all streams or reaction videos, like going through and re-scrolling through it. It's kind of crazy that there's so much in there. Like, is this person, is this that person? That has to be, but is it? I think it's going to be really, really cool to see everybody's reactions as this game comes out and everything unfolds, or if they bring out new content leading up into it. Personally, for me, I think September, like maybe one other trailer, but like leave us like just like drooling, like ready to figure it out.
I need to see gameplay. I need to see what they're gonna bring new to 3. That's what I need. Is it gonna play more like 1 or 2?
Yeah, that's what I say. Like, figuring out, hearing everybody's different perspectives of, some people preferred, Xenoblade Chronicle, and some preferred 2, and some actually liked the way Torna kind of solved a lot of things.
Oh, yeah, that Torna gameplay was too good. Oh my god, I'm remembering that now.
So it's like, do you go with the most modern, or do you kind of like break almost like that fourth wall a little bit, and you conclude elements from all of them together, and I don't know, it's like a happy relationship between them all. Like, what's the balance?
Can I interject on that point with the combat before we get the other people? They've always done combat that kind of feels similar, but the main gimmick is always different. From Xenoblade 1 is just the regular one arts. You got that. Xenoblade X, you have the mechs. Xenoblade 2, obviously the blades. Torna refined that. So they never really use the same gimmick overall with the combat. So I think it's going to be, it's going to feel like Xenoblade. You're going to have your arts. You're going to have like your stuff, but they might remove something. They might remove auto battling completely. They might do some things to kind of mix things up, because they didn't show any of the gameplay at all. Like, they didn't show any of that combat.
I kind of want to interject actually on that, because I think that's a perfect thing to bring up, is that I think because we're familiar with the combat from 1 and the combat from 2, and both games have already released on Switch, and if you're looking at what we've already seen of the main characters right now, and like I'm sure there's going to be a story discussion portion of this, so like I'm not going to get too heavy into it, but it's obvious like some people are descendants of like the Blade people, and some people are descendants of like the Homs Hyentia from Xenoblade 1, and that's
the
sort of like
Maconis.
the conflict. So I wouldn't be surprised if we're seeing a party mixed of these characters, where you've got the characters on one side, on the quote unquote Nia side, right, that play more like the Blades and the Drivers from 2, and that the gameplay of the other people in your party that play more like the standard characters descended from the Hyentia and the Homs play like Xenoblade 1, which then really touches on like the merging of the two worlds together and that greater conflict between both of these other two factions. And one other thing I want to throw in, which goes back to what OJ and Click both said, is I also think this is going to be the conclusion of Xenoblade Chronicles. Because I think Nintendo is smart. And all of us call Xenoblade Xenoblade. We don't call it Xenoblade Chronicles. And I think the story of everything we've had up to this point, Xenoblade 1, Xenoblade 2, X3, and Torna, all have Chronicles in their subtitle. Now, that's not necessarily the case in Japan, but it is here. And so I think for the greater next step of the franchise, whenever we do end up getting there, I think it'll be Xenoblade, whatever the new subtitle is, and they start calling whatever the games are moving forward in Japan by that subtitle as well. And I think this original core thing, even based on what we've seen in the trailer with like the blue blades that look very similar to X, you've got this mechanical stuff. I think, in the words of Kronk from Emperor's New Groove, oh yeah, it's all coming together.
It's all coming together. Man, that's a really good point that you guys are bringing up when it comes to like the potential gameplay aspects of Xenoblade Chronicles 3, like merging that of 1 and 2. Especially when you have like these factions that are obviously like descendant from the Maconis and the Bionis for one faction, and the other faction is Alrest, and then you have, you know, Blades from Alrest, you have Homs and the Mechon from the Bionis and the Maconis. But one thing that I kept like it has not left my mind, and I'm like, this is coming out early since you guys wanted to talk about the gameplay aspects, is that I just honestly think, like, you bring up a good point, Roger, but I honestly think that it's gonna be a marriage of like all 4 gameplay types, and I'm talking specifically of 1, X, 2, and Torna specifically, because there are 6 main protagonists, right? That's kind of an ocky number unless you consider how Torna's gameplay ran. It had a main person, and you constantly swapped out 2 blades specifically, right? Like with God, I'm forgetting his name. Adam, Mithra, and I'm forgetting the gun dude's name too. You constantly, you know, they each had their own moveset and gameplay options, unlike that of the original 2, where, you know, Rex's move kit was very dependent on the blade he used. Not like that in Torna. So it could see a marriage of like the OG art system along with that of the Torna switching out party members, where you have like, you know, it's these main 2 factions that you're controlling. You're controlling Noah, which is the faction derived from the Bionis and Maconis, and then you have Mio or whatever, who's descended from Alrest, that, you know, marries these 2 gameplay aspects. And then you control these 2 characters, you know, like swapping out between their own faction characters, so like 3-on-3 type deal. I could be wrong, but I mean, I feel like
because I think aren't those names the names of the characters, and the areas are actually, it's like Kieves and Agnes, right?
Yeah, Kieves and Agnes are the 2 factions. And then Noah is the main guy from Kieves. Wait, I'm gonna.
And then I think you're right. Yeah, and then Mia's the other one. Because the other thing that I think we saw too, I don't know if you guys have done this, but like I highly suggest doing this because it adds more to watching the trailer. Is Takahashi did a whole forward of what the game idea was, like how they've been crafting this since prior to 2. Yeah. And really he did that on the official Nintendo website, and on the official Nintendo Twitter account, there's like a lot of details about all the different character designs, the lore of the world. And if you look at the 6 party members that we've seen, 3 of them are in black and 3 of them are in white. All the ones in white all have the little core crystals. All the ones in black don't. So I think that's probably your first hint to going back to what we were saying earlier with the gameplay as well, of like maybe if they will play more like the Blades or if they play more like the original. I love the idea of the overdrive from X coming into play, though. I think that'd be sick. Yeah.
Whew, man, Overdrive's too busted below. All right, so don't worry, I want to throw the ball over to Monster Maze now. I know he's just been bottling all that hype when it comes to like Monster Maze and I had like this hour-long conversation one time about like, you know, Xenoblade 1 and 2, like the lore, like interjecting and like sprinkling the possibility of X being canon to 1 and 2, even though it's like it's not, but I mean, maybe. So like Monster Maze, you got the floor, let's get it. 1, 2, leading into 3, what you think?
Well, I'm just happy that this the third game was necessary, because the cool thing about I'm actually one of the maybe more rare people that prefers 2 over 1.
I'm there with
okay.
you.
Well, no, that's nice to hear. My brother usually shames me for it because he's a big like he started with the original Chronicles and stuff like that. But yeah, like it's clear that these two dimensions, because that's what they are, got mashed together somehow at some point. And the cool thing about 2 was that that's why I also hope they don't show us too much of 3 story-wise, because for me personally, the coolest thing about 2 was like for the first 2/3 of the game, you don't even know that the games are connected in any way. So that first moment when that very first moment when Rex touches the third sword, and you see that really, really brief flash of the Earth getting hit by that wave, that was like
good.
Like that last chapter especially, thus boy meets girl. That hits so hard.
Oh, trust me, when I saw Boy Meets Girl and I saw the Sky Station, I'm like, no, and I saw Klaus and I'm like, ah! Bro, I was screaming, bro. Like, and then I remember when the director was like, Xenoblade 1 and 2 aren't connected. I'm like, my ass. Continue. I'm sorry.
The voice actor for Shulk, he posted a tweet the day the game came out, and he was like, "So, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, huh? Have fun, guys." And everybody was like, "Oh, you're hinting at something." So I was very excited to see that. Just the fact that you didn't know that going in was amazing. And but of course, at the end, there was definitely an open-endedness to it, because all of a sudden. Because I rewatched the ending of 2 like yesterday, and when they're sailing on Gramps' back, he's like, "Oh, we're going through a rift or something," and I was like, "Wait, what? What does he mean by going through a rift?" So obviously, like there is a moment where these two worlds are crossing into each other, and lo and behold, we see Xenoblade Chronicles 3 now, and we see characters from both games. Apparently, these two worlds have somehow been put back together or mashed together. I don't know if it is the same world or if they just somehow like crossed into one dimension from the other, like the people from Shulk's world are crossing into the world of Rex, or the other way around, or if it's just literally like a mash of the two, like a rift appeared and bam, it's just become one world again.
You keep saying a word, though, over and over again that I think is like vitally important when talking about Xenoblade. You keep saying cross. And technically, Xenoblade Chronicles X is Xenoblade Chronicles Cross in Japan. And to add one more level to this, the theme of the game, as Takahashi stated in that interview with Nintendo, is life. The theme of the game is life. Do you know what the name of the planet in Xenoblade Chronicles X is? Mira, I see Endakuba. You know where I'm going with this. Mira literally means life. So I think
they're
that
not
game
putting
is
anything
very
from
much
X
going
in
to be
here.
implemented into the story of the game. So I don't think that was an accident. Yeah.
No, in that game, X is all the way over there. It's in a whole. That's not.
No. Here's
canon.
Here's the theory, right? You know, like as we saw in Xenoblade Chronicles 1 at the end, when we see like the experiment in the Sky Station where Klaus is like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna see the birth of a new universe." That was it in 1. In 2, we found there was a war happening in the background when Klaus is doing the experiment. And in X, what are they trying to escape? A war that's happening in the atmosphere of the Earth and stuff. So I mean, like, I feel like X is canon. Like they were lying about 2 not being canon to 1 and stuff.
No,
like,
X is canon.
Especially because the original trailer for X, go back and watch this if you don't remember. The original trailer for X that Nintendo ever showed back during that first Direct of the Wii U era ends with a shot of Shulk's face. It ends with literally Shulk. And then it never gets referenced again, ever for the rest of X.
Because I know Kuba can talk about
this.
Quick, just want to say this. I want to say this.
And Kuba, they're both waiting.
Shulk in there, they were going to have a whole main character, okay? And somehow they were going to tie Shulk into it. They threw all that, halfway and they threw all that out. It didn't work. For whatever reason, they threw it out. the whole thing with Klaus or whatever, he created that X's world. Remember, it created multiple different worlds. So that's just what X is. It's just a separate
Bingo.
world. Now, I don't know how they're going to connect it, but Kuba, you can tell me how.
Yeah.
Hey guys, hi, how y'all doing? I don't know.
Oh man.
I don't remember if it made multiple different worlds or whatnot, but what we do know for it did. Okay,
It did.
Yeah, at the end of
but
2,
we
he
do
said
know-
like, oh yeah, multiple were made.
Okay, but what we do know for sure is the fact that when Klaus executed the project, 2 things happened for sure. One, Shulk's world was made, right? Like after that experiment, Bionis and Mechonis became a thing, and then what happened of Earth? Spoilers for anybody who hasn't.
I
played yet,
already
even though
put the
it's been
spoiler
fucking-
tag, yo. If
Yeah.
you're here, then you're gonna see spoilers.
Yeah, but we do know that what happened with Klaus's world became All Rest because
Yeah.
underneath the Cloud
Right.
Sea is Earth.
Earth.
So yeah, and plus there were multiple references anyway that those two were intertwined. The moment I saw Malos using Monado arts, that was already a red flag in a good way. I was like, Monado jail. Y'all don't know what the Monado is. Like what?
That was hype though. Was that not
Yeah.
freaking
Yeah.
amazing?
Hype, yeah.
I was
Yeah,
like,
it was fire. Yeah, so like seeing that happen, and then when you go down to Earth, you actually see like what happened to people when the experiment actually executed, like they're all warped and crap. And then of course when you meet Klaus in Xenoblade 2, you find out at the same time Shulk is fighting Zanza, Rex is about to finish off Malos. So it's like, okay, yeah, we already know they're intertwined somehow, some way. It's just what's gonna finally like bridge that gap and bring them all together. And I think that's perfect because with the way how Xenoblade 2 ended, which hurt my heart. You know what I'm saying? Pyra Mithra, you know what I'm saying?
it was a happy ending.
We don't
It
know.
was
We don't know.
bittersweet.
They're
It was
fine.
bittersweet.
We don't know, and we don't know. Maybe they did remember
He
that.
said he wanted it to be happier, though. He
Uh,
said he
who
wanted it to
knows?
end on a happier note.
Yeah.
I
The
mean,
whole
we could
article
find
about
out in Xenoblade 3. Who
This
knows?
is true. You can be confirmed. Yeah.
Right.
There you go.
There are
Nah, man.
there are 2 Napon that look a weird like Rex and Pyra. They look a lot like Rex and Pyra. It's just
Don't
bizarre.
do this. No, don't start. Don't start.
Well,
No,
I mean,
I'm not.
we'll get
No,
into it
no, we're
during
not
the
doing
story
this.
thing, but I think I think it's important to note that is all I'm going to say for now.
Rex is dead.
Which is,
Shulk is dead.
I just
It's
wanna
actually
know
so
why
weird.
freaking
Okay.
the
I'm not
girls are
saying they're
going
not
at
dead.
it.
I don't think they're dead. I mean, they are dead. You're right, but this is like you get through. Stealth has to talk. Stealth hasn't even talked.
I want-
There's too much here. There's too much to go over.
I want Indokuba to finish his thoughts, and then we're gonna go on to stealth.
Oh, bet. I mean, well, I was just gonna say real quick, like it's actually kind of crazy that Roger brought on the Nopon, right? Because I was like rewatching scenes of like the what was it? It was like the Xenoblade DLC where you actually get Shulk and Elma and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it was just the fact that Elma brought up, you pronounce it Nopon? Well, from where we're from, we pronounce it Nopon and all that stuff. So that's all I was gonna bring up. But yeah, that's really.
Yeah.
No pawns are eternal. All right, stealth. We finally come down to you. The hype that is Xenoblade Chronicles 3, building off 1, 2, and everything that's come up before it. How do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, in Xenoblade 2, there was DLC where Shulk and Fiora met Rex and Pyra.
Yeah.
And that was kind of very fan servicey. But it kind of lit the spark in me that maybe like the sequel would kind of merge the worlds. And in the trailer, you know, it doesn't give any indication of how far along in the timeline we are from when Xenoblade 1 and 2 happened. It might be 100 years, 200 years, we really don't know. And that's, I think, what's interesting to me is what happened in this void time frame of when Xenoblade 1 and 2 ended to now, where we're in this new world. And, you know, seemingly we're going to talk about it. Characters from both games are in this. You know, what really happened there. And, you know, are Pyra and Mithra going to show up? Where's Rex and Shulk? What happened to them? You know, there's a lot of interesting backstory besides what's going on currently that, like, that's the juicy stuff for me, is, like, what happened in those games in this one.
You know, we're probably gonna get a little bit of like, you know, like a lore info dump when we find out that spoiler, that Melia is leading the faction, you know, from the Bionis and Mechonis. Man, there has to be a better word for Shulk's world than just that. And Nia is leading the faction from All Rest and whatnot. And I honestly feel that this is gonna be so into the future that, you know, Shulk and Rex, those characters are like legends. You know, I'm expecting this game to be like 500, if not 1,000 years in the future beyond that of Xenoblade 1 and 2. And then a lot of people are asking, where's
Shulk?
Shulk?
How long did the Hyantia live?
Oh, for a very long time. And
Nia, the elves.
Yeah, and Nia can't die because she's a flesh eater.
Right,
so
a blade driver,
set.
flesh eater. Right.
Yeah, so those two are set. But like people were asking, oh, where's Shulk? Where's Rex? I'm like, yo, they're dead. Like they got smoked. It's like, why? It's like because they don't live long. They're humans. You know, so what a really cool point that someone brought up in the chat that I want to ask you guys, that Future Connected was a very cool point to, you know, bring in with Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, because we see that, you know, a little bit of flavor from Xenoblade Chronicles 1 originally is that Shulk was able to make his own Monado, right? After he loses the actual Monado, he was able to make a man-made one, and then he refined that in Future Connected. What we see in Xenoblade Chronicles 3, especially with the main protagonist Noah and a lot of the soldiers from his faction, it seems that like maybe they mass-produce Monados. How do you guys feel about that?
This is gonna get into, I want to warn people, because someone walked me through this and I'm like, damn, I feel like I got this entire game spoiled for me. So I want to preface this with this. I think we've already actually seen the two Monado in the game in a form that you're not going to necessarily expect. And that's the flutes. There are two flutes that we see. There's a black flute and a white flute, both representing something from these worlds. Now hear me out, because people are going to... Well, some of them. Well, we don't see everyone with flutes. We see two in particular, and other people using flutes. And that's what's important, is that other people are using these flutes. Now, you hear on multiple occasions in this trailer, like, wait a minute, I know you're not him. I know that's not you. You hear that from the characters, and then you also hear other characters bring up something about the ticking clocks in our eyes. Okay? Now, hear me out. This is gonna go a bunch of different ways.
Here we go.
With the two Monados, right? If there's the Monado from Allrest and the Monado from Bionis Macanis, whatever, and they are somehow produced, right? Somehow, some way over the years, Melia and Nia have found ways to develop their own Monado with the purpose of helping and saving the people who have died over all those years. However, the conflict comes into play where both cannot exist in the same universe. And thus, that is where these factions are fighting, where the two Monados have to merge into one. But there's something important in the story that's keeping them separated. Because you'll notice in the trailer, the girl in white is playing on the black Monado, and the guy in black is playing on the white Monado. And they're clearly working together. The whole main squad of this game are from these two different factions. And something else I want to point out and note, there's a lot of stuff here. There is a guy that we see that kind of looks like Joker, who has Conan's abilities from Naruto with like the paper bombs, right?
Yeah.
That guy has a scarf on, okay? The other blades, you can visibly see their little core crystals. That guy on the squad with the white jackets, you can't see his core crystal. So my guess is like midway through the game, there's some twist that like, oh, actually, he's on Melia's side, and he's been working vice versa with them for whatever reason in the story. But going way too ahead of myself and all over the place, the way I bring this back to what you were talking about with those two Monados in these two worlds is I think you are right that Rex and Shulk and all these characters are dead, but somehow, some way, from these other characters using these Monado and bringing people back to life, which is again the theme of the game, and cross with these different universes and all this stuff. That is why you see these weird Napon that look like Rex and Pyra. That is why you see this weird dude that looks an awful lot like Adam from Torna, but he's not Adam. You see a guy that looks a lot like Vandam from Xenoblade 2.
Yeah, when I saw that, I'm like, you're supposed to be dead. Like, what are you doing?
Right, they say that. Yeah, exactly. They say you're supposed to be dead. I know you're not him. Ticking clocks in her eyes. There's something where these characters are being brought back to life from these two universes, and something's going wrong. And I don't know what the extent of that is, but like...
That's just hype. You just hype me even more. It's like I just want to play. Can it be September, please? Like, can it just be September?
So, Roger, are you saying that Nia and Melia, as leaders of these two factions, also someone in the chat said, why do you have to make Melia and Nia evil? They're not evil. They're just leading.
They're not evil. They're trying to bring back their friends who are
yeah,
dead.
they're leading.
Exactly.
They're leading factions that are at war. That doesn't make them evil.
Right.
Like who's right or who's wrong? We don't know. Are you
Right.
saying that Nia and Melia were able to locate Alvis's and Malice's core in order to make them into flutes?
I'm glad you bring this up because I got an answer for this too.
Yeah.
If you'll notice in the trailer, one of the main characters has a tattoo on his hand. The tattoo looks an awful lot like the Trinity tattoos from the previous Xenoblade games with the three and then the thing in the center. But if you look at the tattoo this time, there are 4 green circles around the center one instead of 3. Now, if you remember what
we about to make a new Monado. What you mean?
in the space station, right? If you remember in the space station, they had the Trinity. There was those 3 cores, right? And then that big section in the middle. What if there was a 4th in that middle section? And going back to what you said earlier, OJ, with how X connects to all of this, all rest, right, underneath the clouds was Earth, right? The characters from X left Earth to make new LA, on Mira, all that other stuff, right? Who's to say X and 2 aren't already in the same universe, and that the Earth that they left is indeed the Earth that we see under the clouds? Because if you remember, just like Stealth brought up, and this is how everything connects together, Elmo was also in that DLC where Fiora and the rest of them meet the main squad.
But
So in some way, that game is going to be important. Right.
But Shulk was in there too, as just like a.
Oh yeah, of course he was. But I think it may end up being more important than people realize. Yeah.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
All right.
That's quite the theory, by the way.
Yo,
Of course.
That was great.
Yo, Roger, that was nice. That was nice.
Look, see, Roger just explained all of Xenoblade 3. That's the end of the 5th dimension. Thank you guys so much for coming out.
We got this
It's
figured out,
over.
bro.
The team is listening like, God damn it, he figured it out.
Jeez.
We're not going there yet.
We're still sending the Nintendo ninjas right now as we speak.
Yo, I feel that.
Contact.
The
But
only
I
thing
al-
is that's a little
Good.
bit unclear to me right now is for like didn't they leave Earth because of an alien invasion, not because they were
Yes.
So like these aliens, either they came from another dimension, because Klaus did say many things and many people were transported to other dimensions at that time.
Yeah.
That could also mean that stuff from other dimensions came into the dimension where Earth was at that
Yeah.
time. Because the only thing we really know about that time period is the Saviorite rebels were the ones who were attacking the Beanstalk, that space station thing.
Yeah.
So who were those people? I'm pretty sure those were not aliens necessarily. I think that was just, Earth at war. You had rebels versus the people in power. So these so-called aliens from X, either they came from another dimension too when that whole space-time thing was triggered, or it connects in some other way. But I'm not sure. That's the only point where I'm like, I'm not sure how that connection would work.
What if it was connected in a way? Because as we all know from Xenoblade Chronicles 1 and 2, when the conduit activated, as Endakuba brought up earlier in the stream, under the Sea of All Rest, the Cloud Sea, we saw what happened to people when the conduit was activated. What if this was a retroactive experiment in terms of that's one thing I love about Xenoblade that connects over to Legend of Zelda, of how we infer certain legends after the fact, and we are told about how it was an alien invasion in Xenoblade Chronicles X, and that those same aliens followed them to Mira or whatever. What if this whole time when the conduit activated, these aliens were once humans that were just changed thanks to the experiment and stuff. And they talk about the Grand Savior all the time and whatnot, and we never really get a real answer to that at the end of X. And I feel that there's a lot of mysteries to the conduit that we see a lot in the backstory of 1, within 2. I mean, the art. You guys remember that awesome Xenoblade Chronicles art that had Xenoblade Chronicles 1, 2, and X, Rex, Elma, and Shulk on it? And the conduit was just in the background. We still don't know what that thing is, right? They built the Trinity processor in order to run that thing. And
Well, it does
Roger
have a
brought up,
connection. It does have a connection to the older games, the old trilogy, because it's.
right?
I'm pretty sure that's it was originally called the Zohar.
Right,
yeah,
that
it,
was
it was really called
right,
Zohar. But I
Yeah.
felt that was a reference because, you know, like, if you guys didn't know, Xeno as a whole deals with a lot of like, it incorporates a lot of Christian
Space
mythology
Jesus.
into it. Yeah, there you go, Space Jesus. And for, you know, Xenoblade, they toned that down, but not all the way, because of course Nintendo's all like, oh yeah, we're not going to really deal with religion. But then the conduit itself is supposed to resemble a cross, but not too much, so they, like, you know, chopped off two sides of the cross. And then I always say Numa, but it's Nema. It's Nema, right? Or Numa?
It's
Nema.
Numa.
It's Numa.
It's
It's
Numa.
Numa.
Yeah.
It's Numa. All right.
Yeah, it's Numa.
So on
ancient
Numa's
Greek.
chest, on Numa's chest, it has a biblical verse, and I forgot which verse it is, like Proverbs something, right? And I just feel that the conduit itself is going to play like a massive role in explaining a lot that's gone on with 1, 2, and X in 3. And the way that Roger brought up the tattoo of the Trinity processor with a 4th supposed core, I feel is like possibly a reference to them trying to do a Trinity processor again, but instead of having 3 cores run the conduit, they have the conduit as one of the cores in order to, like, you know, run the entire thing and then possibly, like, either bring people back or, you know, revert the world back to how it was. That could be a whole thing where it's like, yo, you guys don't understand. This world has been torn apart like 5 times over thanks to that stupid ass experiment. We're trying to bring it back. And then that could be like a whole thing with Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I don't know.
I
What
actually
are-
have like a random thing. Well, I don't know if it's really random or not, but
No, go for it. Go
just
for it.
looking at my head right now. So obviously Numa and Malos as well. We know are
Cores
my
of the
brain
Trinity
just
processor.
died. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And in the process, as we see them function in Xenoblade 2, they function as I was supposed to say blades,
Blades.
which I'm pretty sure I'm not incorrect. Yeah, they function as blades. We do know that one was sucked into space time and sent somewhere else. We all know that's Alvis, right?
That's
So,
Alvis. It's
Yeah,
Alvis.
yeah,
Alvis.
of course.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah, they
pretty
even corrected
sure-
it.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure like Alvis still has to be around somewhere. There's because I mean, if anybody has played Future Connected, you know he's nowhere to be found. You know, we do have the
Right.
sequence at the end of Xenoblade 1 anyway. But if he functions exactly like how Numa and Malos do, where's my man Alvis at? Because it's kind of weird that for them to be able to live for a long time, and even the premise of why blades even exist in the first place, based off of what Klaus said, it would be safe to assume that he should still be alive somewhere and may have some sort of significance with this story, especially if the two worlds are, you know, I guess combining in some sort of way, shape, or form. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like at this point, I'm just theory crafting, but
Yeah, I mean, I think you're honestly on the money there, because the last time we see Alvis, and this is a little bit of a spoiler, he's asking Shulk what kind of world he wants to build, and Alvis is kind of like a sheen of light. He's like a star, kind of,
Yeah.
and then he kind of goes away. You know, we don't know where he went. Maybe he went to, you know, a hibernation or a different world or whatever. He's not gone. He's not dead. So yeah, he could definitely like show up in Xenoblade 3, I think.
Can I talk about one thing?
Go for it.
HMK said he's like, oh, Nintendo doesn't want religion. Then all of a sudden you play Pokemon Legends Arceus.
Oh, real world religion, like real world religion.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, oh, homie, yeah, open this
Yeah,
up
no.
for me.
No, like religion that exists in the real world. That's what.
Yeah, just messing with
yeah.
you, just messing with you. But he's got Goblin speed down in Arceus, bro.
Yeah, it's like, yo, the God phone, and I'm like, okay, God, awesome.
I love it.
You know that meme where it's like you see something fucked up, and then you see someone die on the phone. It's like Jesus, and then like waiting on the phone call. That's how I feel as Legend Arceus. Ugh, my goodness.
That game rules.
But how
by the way.
about?
Yeah, that game's
Uh,
awesome.
Oh, that
Hashtag
game's
free game.
amazing, bro.
Yeah,
Oh.
right. Hashtag free game. Hashtag free product.
Free.
Whatever. Yeah.
So how about let's throw the ball over to Misclick? You know, she hasn't talked about anything. She hasn't talked about anything in a while. So let me ask you this: what is the most exciting thing for you when it comes to, you know, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 releasing this September? Like, what's the main thing that gets you hyped? Is it the story? Is it the gameplay? Is it seeing the worlds merge? Even though we've talked about that like for a good minute, what excites you? What gets you ready for this game?
Well, for me, first off, it excites me because of Xenoblade's coming out in September. What is coming out after, you know, Nintendo timeline itself. But I think for me, it's like Xenoblade has a lot of content to it. So for me, I'm still constantly learning about it because, and then people are gonna get so mad at me. People always get mad at me when I tell this story, but I literally told them back when the Wii came out. I remember my parents were like, you get one game for Christmas. You get one game, like you get to pick. And I remember scrolling through the Wii channel, you know, they showed all the trailers and everything. And I remember watching Xenoblade. I watched, I don't even remember what it was, but then the other one was Metroid. And I got Metroid. And so like part of me is just like, all right, well, I didn't pick a bad pick, but also I missed out on Xenoblade after all of these years. And for me, someone who obsesses over deep lore, you know, rich history, kind of minor details, you know, being able to even just, you know, theorizing about someone wearing a scarf and how that excites you and possible plots that might have for you. I think for me, it's diving into a new series for me over all this time, not just watching people experience it or, you know, kind of having my own withdrawn perspective of it. I'm very excited to kind of like dive into small details and look into it and come up with my own theories. I'm not too big personally, whether it's Zelda or Kingdom Hearts or anything. I'm not the mastermind when it comes to you guys of like, oh, but this means this could be this, and this, and now I can make 5 different videos. You know, I can't.
The One Piece YouTuber in me, I apologize.
my brain just doesn't necessarily work like that. Like I love being like curious, and then I love questioning it. But then once all is revealed, it's like, oh, you know, verse being like, oh, I kind of like my own theory more. You know, because I've done that once or twice and I've disappointed myself. So for me, it's kind of like, I like seeing what their art's gonna be and just wait for it to kind of seep through. But in reality, I'm really excited to kind of approach Xenoblade a little bit more in depth this time around. So you know, I told people instead of me experiencing it by myself, you know, I want to include people more on the Let's Play side of things, and be able to talk about them and you know, actually play Xenoblade on stream with them and get them interested into it, because Xenoblade Chronicles was like, I think we had like 15 different streams, you know, just to beat that game.
Games are long, people.
Yeah, they are. I remember with Xenoblade Definitive Edition specifically, you know, when it hit around the 40-hour mark, and then it really takes off, and you're like, this isn't the end. You know, this isn't it at all. And people are like, oh, like, here we go. This is the beginning, the actual beginning. Then you realize how big it really is. So it's just one of those things that, you know, it's really fun to, look up theories about. You can make theories yourself. But just kind of combine the two. So I don't know. I'm also like, from a different perspective too, I'm also very happy and excited that they're kind of making the game a little less thirsty, in my opinion. I like the fact that a lot of the characters, like, oh, these are characters that I really am actually like excited to you know, not feel like they're being undermined. Specifically female characters, but also like, oh, these would actually be really fun to cosplay. Like, I don't feel like I have to buy a fake latex bodysuit to wear this cosplay.
Right.
And cosplay's supposed to be for everybody. No. You got comments on the internet tell you otherwise. So I'm very excited though to see the
let me ask you a question though, Click.
And how they build.
Didn't you see Stealth's cosplay of Zeke from Xenoblade Chronicles 2? It was fantastic.
I did not. Did you cosplay Zeke?
No.
No, because Zeke has his shirt off and he's like a buff dude. So no, I was just making a little.
Did you wear an eye patch and everything? Like,
You should have. You should have.
Man, I haven't been to the gym in 20 years.
We should, you should go to the gym, but we should get John to cosplay as Jesus.
Oh my
I am glad you brought that up, Click, because that's what I was going to ask you. Actually, is like, how do you feel having known you for so long and knowing that that's like the big thing that's turned you off of 2? When you watched this trailer, like, what was your initial impression of the costumes or the character designs?
Well, if anybody saw my reaction, I was like, first off, the main character doesn't look insufferable. Like, Rex is just whatever. They make
you guys are some haters. What?
No, come on, bro.
This is a thing. Like, this is a thing, and maybe it's just, you know, like the
he's a child. Leave him alone.
It's not just that, bro. It's also like character design and everything else. Like there are other ways you can approach it, but also the voice acting. Like it was a lot of.
Okay, look, just set it to Japanese and you're fine.
You need the English voice acting for one scene in particular, which is, of course I love you, Nia. I love you, and
Oh,
Pyra,
yeah.
and Xena. I love everyone.
Where he
That
friend
right
zones
there,
her?
that
Yeah.
moment of permanent friend zoning for centuries.
Was insane. Oh my God.
Did you guys
You're
see?
never gonna get better than
Did
that.
you guys see the meme where it's like, of course, Melia and Neo will be leading these factions. These are the two characters that got friend
I
zoned
was
to
about
oblivion.
to say that.
Like-
Like, as soon as I saw the emo versions of them in the trailer, I was like, man, who broke your heart? Oh.
See what they're gonna do? They're gonna
It's like,
use
oh,
Monado and
Jesus.
bring everybody back, except Rex ain't gonna get Pyra back, and Shulk ain't gonna get Fiora back, and everybody else is just fine. But Mel and Nia, they're like, we're not doing
Here's
this.
the thing: the voice acting's the same. You guys know that.
yeah.
Like, the voice
Yeah,
acting's
voice actors are the
exactly the
same.
same.
For sure.
I think after a certain time, though, whether it's like localization or same actors or whatever, like you see the feedback, over time.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
really see like, hey. Like my thing is like when the combat's going on, are we gonna be hearing the same voice lines over and over and over and over again? Or are they gonna
Think
change
you
it
could
up?
take
Like,
me? Think
how's
you could
that-
take me? Think you could take me?
Don't forget me. That was godlike.
Yo, can
That
I
was
tell
the
you?
best
time,
Yo, I
baby,
told
like,
this to Roger and Fidel. I almost thought I was gonna get an aneurysm when I saw the Pyra Mithra trailer in Smash, and that Mithra says that as one of her taunts. I'm like, no, I can't.
No,
I
that
can't.
was,
Come
that
on
was
now.
the best. When she turns around and goes, "Think you could take me?" I'm
Bro,
like,
like every
that's
time.
perfect.
Every time I hear that,
That
like
line.
I'm like, no,
Yes.
I quit the match. I'm not playing. I'm not doing this. I'm not. No.
That was. I mean, I liked it. I liked. You. The funny thing is that they add stuff to where you can like even like with the battle screams, you can turn all that. Like they made that game completely customizable at some point because you can slide everything. You can completely adjust that game to whatever you want outside
but
of.
the thing is, when it comes to voice
stuff.
acting itself, not just
Yeah.
the frequency of like mechanics
Totally.
of how much they put that voice line in, that's not the voice actor's fault, but coaching them and realizing
It's the
okay, like,
direction.
this didn't come, this
Yeah.
didn't come across the way we wanted it to, or now that we've seen people's reactions, like this was completely perceived differently than how we wanted to. That is something that does have to be taken into account. So, I mean, as far as the trailers go and stuff like that, I really also like the dynamic of the two main characters that we're kind of, looking at in the trailer. And it senses they're very equal. There's not like this one character gawking at the other, and there's this weird lopsided tension kind of thing. It really seems like, are they best friends from childhood, or like what is the true backstory behind them, because they're really talking with anger and anguish with each other, saying it's not going to bring our friends back and stuff like that. And it's really like, okay, like this has been deep rooted, and they genuinely feel betrayed by the other's actions. So I am really curious to see why, like the beginning voice lines are like, why did you choose to fight with them? Like, why are you fighting with them? Like, what they've done. And I'm very curious to see how this dynamic goes, but I'm really for like more of like an equal strong team again, versus it feeling necessarily kind of, again, like after a while, it just starts to feel a little awkward with certain elements when you have like one character kind of like, again, like I just use the word gawking because that's just what it felt like after a while. It's like, this is uncomfortable a little bit. So I am
Right.
that more even strong playing field where the back and forth can really get going. I'm a big fan of that.
And I don't think you're alone with the Rex annoyance as well. I think like that's everybody feels like. I mean, there's a reason why Pyra and Mithra are in Smash and not Rex. I think everybody loves those characters. And say what you will about the costumes or whatever. That's like up for debate. But I think in terms of Rex as a protagonist versus Pyra and Mithra, like people definitely connected more to that internal struggle with Numa, right? Like, who am I actually? Who am I trying to be, and who am I really? Versus, I'm Rex and I have two waifus. It's like a little much. So
Not only that, there was one thing that Ms. Click also brought up that kind of resonated with me. I feel as if, based off of what we saw from Xenoblade 3, I feel like it's a lot more focused in general. Like I'm speaking like voice acting and visuals and all that stuff, right? Because I mean, let's be honest, the voice acting in 2 was kind of hit or miss. In 3,
Very
it
hit or
kind of
miss.
right now. Definitely hit or miss. Yeah, like in 3, it sounded really good. Not only that, we also know that in Xenoblade 2, they had, which I think is cool on paper, but kind of poor on execution. They had multiple artists to make designs for a lot of the characters in the game.
All the blades,
And it made the game feel super unfocused. Like, for example, I think Jin is one of the coolest looking characters ever. Like, he was made by Tetsuri Nomura. Like, that's one of the gods right there, right? And then you have like some other character that's made by another artist. I'm like, okay, cool. Doesn't really connect with the main art style of the game. What's going on here? So yeah, as Xenoblade 3 looks a lot more focused than 2 does, and I think that's gonna push it in a better direction than 2 definitely did. Or
now,
real quick, but because 2
for it.
was not made by the exact same. 3 is Takahashi team. That's the big team. That's the same team that made X, made 1. 2 was made by legitimately a side team of about 40 people, and they had to contract out to get art done. They literally needed help. They contracted multiple artists because it was a smaller team.
Yeah.
They built off of what they did with Xenoblade X on the Wii U. They ported that engine, and Takahashi Team 1, they have been working on the new engine for this game, upgrading it, and also just getting this game ready, because this game has been in development since
forever.
Forever. So
Yeah.
that's part of it as well.
It definitely comes with time, experience, and budget growth. I mean, obviously, like Monolith has been working on other things just on their own games as well. And I think when you see success and partnerships and the things they do behind the scenes too, that really can help benefit you and your opportunities and your potential and your resources, to where you can grow your projects, you can have more time to work on them, and you can hopefully have more resources brought to you versus, again, you having to outsource it, because that can suffer. You know, it's like streamers, you know, like we try to do everything ourselves. Sometimes we have to outsource things, and sometimes, you know, you go on like Fiverr or something and someone gets back to you with a piece of work and you're like, not exactly what I was looking for, but I'll take it because I paid you like $20 and I don't want to like eat the 20. So, you know, I think it'll be
Speak for yourself, Click. I do everything myself. I do everything. I stream myself. I create everything. I make your thumbnails, Click. I make your thumbnails. I do everything.
I like your thumbnails, bro. I can't have
wait, do you really make her thumbnails?
No, I made.
Oh, I was
made
gonna say, I'm
a little
like,
thumbnail.
yo.
And she didn't even pay me.
Like-
I asked for $1 and you didn't even pay me.
Unbelievable.
I gave you $5 yesterday.
Wow.
I'm
how could you
joking.
Click?
I'm joking. I did it for.
Now-
I did it for free.
Here's a really cool perspective, since you guys have been talking about this. Like, you guys really went off the rails with the whole concept of 2 and how it felt disjointed and the whole concept of blades and whatever. And I feel like this question could really spin off that whole conversation really nicely. Considering everything we've seen about 2 going into 3, and that, you know, a big story focus of 2, which is not only a story focus, but a gameplay focus, which deal with the blades, would you guys like to see the whole blade collecting mechanic return from 2 into 3?
Get it out of there.
Jeez, all right, see,
OJ
Stealth
as
and
well on
OJ
this.
are like, nah.
I think it was cool for the game, and I do think the idea of the blades being rebirthed is going to be really important to this game, because you can even see, like, first off, it's in the logo for Xenoblade 3. If you look at the logo for Xenoblade Chronicles, the silver part of the logo has those little blue wisps coming out of it, which are the same, like, life-giving looking wisp things from the blades in Xenoblade 2. So I think because of the whole thing in 2 being so important, that the blades are constantly rebirthed, right? That they come back, they forget their old drivers, they don't have the same memories, all of that. I do think that's going to come into play with how these Monados are somehow bringing people back to life. So I wanted to toss that in there when you brought that up. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think the blades are good, but, you know, I played Xenoblade Chronicles 2-3 times, and I still didn't get all the blades, and you miss out on a lot of pretty cool story quests that way. And, you know...
I still don't have Cosmos. I've been playing that game for, like, since release.
Like, it's too much of, like, okay, so obviously, you know what I'm saying, I play a mobile game for a living, right? And like, obviously within that game there's a gacha element, and that's exactly how blades, not whole concept, but like in order to obtain blades, that's what it felt like, right? Because again, same here, I played the game since day one. I mean, I got Telos, which is fire, but I never got Cosmos, right? And I know a lot of people must be nice.
Yeah.
Wait, OG, you got Cosmos?
I'll link you guys my reaction, because I actually did it on stream. My reaction
Wow,
was
must be nice. Because I want that fucking Cosmo quest. God damn, like, I'm so mad about that.
I can't get it worth my life, but yeah, just all in all though, like, I think blades as a concept, like, if Xenoblade 3 had blades that were just already, like, they already exist or whatever, and they're kind of integrated to the story, and it's just like them, or like maybe there are like some spin-offs, but there's just no gacha element, I think I'll be okay with that, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Much like actually in Torna, you don't have the blade system. You do, but not the summon element. You already have pre-established
you got the
blades.
affinity charts and everything still, though. Yeah, for sure.
So if they did that for Xenoblade 3, all for that, 100%. But if they do like how they did in 2 with Gacha, no, they can take
What
all
if
that out.
what if they did it like, because you know a lot of you guys are like, oh, no gotcha, no gotcha. Okay, I understand that. That's fine. But what if they did it in the way that they did with X, where you connect your communities together and you recruit people to your party and you recruit blades instead of summoning?
No, I like that.
No!
I love a lot of things about Xenoblade X, and I'm saying this as a hardcore Xenoblade fan. I really do love a lot about that game, but I think a reason why that game didn't resonate for people as much is because there's really only like 3 or 4 main characters in that game. Everybody else you're recruiting, and so because of that, you don't really like care about them very much. There are like other friends that you're recruiting. There are other random characters that come in for one mission, and I don't know, like I think the thing that makes 1 and 2 and Torna so special is you've got your main RPG party, you've got your squad, and based on what we've seen of this game so far, it's the same thing, right? It's the same. It's like 6 people, 3 from the one side, 3 from the other, and somehow, some way, maybe there'll be other characters thrown in, but there's like a core group, and I think that's really integral when you're telling a story this big, to have key characters that you could focus on, as opposed to pulling focus with all these other randoms that you're constantly summoning. And just like Stealth said too, I think there's amazing side quests that are locked behind certain blades in Xenoblade 2, so if you never got it, you're never going to experience that part of the story. And so I think they're going to want to avoid that as much as possible.
I actually kind of do want to add to that, because as someone whose main content for the longest time with Xenoblade 2 was consuming other people's playthroughs of it, I feel like I was always watching something different at a different time. Like, oh, maybe like everybody's gonna have a different experience, but it's like, well, if it's kind of important, or if you feel like it's really gonna show like certain sides of a character, like, why would you kind of keep people from doing that, you know? Or at least at the end, give them a way to obtain the characters that they couldn't originally, so that way you can guarantee you get to experience that. But again, like, maybe that was something that they thought would be cool and creative and maybe a little quirky, but I think overall, like, if you do end up missing out on something, it's like, it's not the same when you're just watching through it versus playing through it on your own file.
Torna plays just fine. Torna plays just fine without all of that, and it's fantastic. I the blade stuff, it's cool. Before I pass it to Stealth, I know you want to speak on that again. It's cool, but it just doesn't work over. It's not needed. Like, I said this on my stream, but like Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is like, you ever had like the mom? I know you're Hispanic, right? HMK, the grandma that just wants to overfeed you. I'm Nigerian. My wife, man, I'm sitting there, she'll feed me a bunch of food. I'm like, I'm good, and she just looks at me. And then she's
like, no, you're not.
The food on your plate, and I'm like, yes, ma'am. Okay. And you just keep, and that's what Xenoblade 2 is, man. It's like they just kept on like they really didn't need to do all that. That whole blade, it needed none of that.
It needed a growing boy.
They could have made it to where there was quests individually to get those extra blades, and then you just do the quest. You find the core crystal. It's them. They're literally quests where that happens. They have that in there where there's a quest where you get a rare core crystal. All that was just extra. That was just not, because it's the randomness. The randomness was just, you're just sitting there. Some people Stealth played it 3 times. 3 times. That's ridiculous.
Now
the odds on there were crazy. That's not cool. I'm not a fan of it. Not anymore. It was cool at the beginning, but it wore off.
And I think that I don't know. I might be alone about this, but I mean, I definitely get how people are so abrasive to the gacha mechanic in Xenoblade Chronicles 2. But the thing is, like, the base story of Xenoblade Chronicles 2 inherently is very long, right? But I just loved, you know, adding, like, I get the whole core party system is something that, like, oh, it'll help, like, you know, focus the story a lot more. But I like the whole idea of constantly getting more and more party members that can add to your own party, that can enrich your battle systems and whatnot, and then you get to level them up. Yo, that literally sucked my life out in such a good way, and in learning and caring about each of these characters. And they all had their own story, which is, I feel like, so much supplementation on top of the already gigantic Xenoblade Chronicles 2 story. And for me, that was a big source of enjoyment when I try to compare it from 2 to 1. And that's why that's a big reason why I like 2 better. Like,
I'm right there with you with the extra enjoyment of like having those side quests, but I do feel like if they're trying to tell a story that's wrapping all this up, there's just straight up not time for it. Like, if there's so much that they need to get through in this game if they're gonna wrap up all of them together.
Do you want to have it to where you get, like, remember how many of those non-rare blades that you got?
Oh, God, yes.
I threw them all away.
That's the worst feeling. And then at the beginning of the game, they didn't do a good job of making it to where you can get rid of them fast. It took a while.
Right.
Like if you
One
really
by
want to
one.
delete them, it'd just be like, it was slow to be like, I'm sorry to go.
Yeah, and it hurts your heart.
Oh man.
Maybe next
Listen. I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm gonna tell you right now. Like, you can call me heartless. I don't care. The only game, there is only one game that made me feel bad about releasing entities. And you guys know what that game is? Can you guys guess what that game is?
Sonic Adventure 2?
There you go, Sonic Adventure 2. That's the only game. The Chow gun. That was the only game. See the Chow with the little, I was like, are you sure you want to let him go? He has like the little, like the
I can never
pole.
let them go.
I'm like,
If you don't let the chow hatch, you break them open and you have them for breakfast. That's what you do instead. You crack that egg and you scramble that.
Roger,
Roger,
is that what
what
you
you
did to your
gotta
Pikachu?
No, my Pikachu's fine.
Nah, he
Pikachu's
looks
just
like
not
over. He
sleeping.
looks over easy
Nah,
right
he
now.
doesn't.
Yo, sunny side up.
Hold on. Pikachu, come over here. Look at this. He's fine. All right.
He's
good.
deflated.
Well,
Yo.
that's Reagan's fault. That's not mine. This is her Pikachu. So you
Wow.
can ask Reagan about it.
I think I'll not ask Reagan about it. Actually, I don't know what's going on with that Pikachu, bro.
Yo, I think we lost stuff.
Yeah,
You lost, though.
He said his computer died. He's restarting it. Yeah.
Got it.
But HMK, there is one thing I wanted to say though. See, you did bring up about like, liking the element of like more characters coming through and experiencing their stories and all whatnot. Again, personally speaking, this could be a hot take. I really don't like the way how they were doing it in Xenoblade 2 because of the whole core mechanic, apart from like certain characters. I really do believe Xenoblade 1 did it better. Because, for example, when you go meet Charlotte for the first time, right? New character joining the party, she brings a new playstyle to the game and all that stuff. Yep. You find out like what was going on with her. Then her brother gets snatched up. And it's like, oh crap, what's going on? Afterwards, you find out you got snatched up by whatever that tentacle thing was, right? And from there, then you understand like why she's so adamant on doing like what she wants to do. I'm trying to be as non-spoilery as possible. But
bro, the spoiler tags are here. Let's go.
Hey, look, you know what I'm saying? Well, still, like, you understand like why she picked up the rifle, it's because of Gato and all that stuff, right? And I mean, that's honestly, that's just like one example, right?
Yeah.
Obviously,
but in the Koopa, what happened to him though?
Hey, look. If you want to find out what happened to him, go ahead and buy Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition available on the Nintendo.
There you go.
Nice.
Right.
But yeah, it's because of the fact that I love Xenoblade 1 so much that I would much rather not try to spoil for people, even though it's been out like for a while.
For sure.
Definitely go get that game. But again, Xenoblade 1 did it in a way where they introduced new characters and deeper lore, I would say, to like why they're doing the actions that they're taking, right? Again, like with Shulk, at first, crap, man, mech on this, mech on that, let's get them. And then it's like, oh crap, wait, it's way more than just that, right?
Yeah.
So, Xenoblade 2, though, with the blades, it's just like, blades is already like a centralized thing of the entire story anyway, right? So, even when you do get like some blades that are not important to the story, it's like, okay, cool. How does this help us defeat Malos? Is
But
there a correlation?
it ain't about that. That's the thing. That's the beautiful thing. We already have that story. That story already exists. This is all just. I think
you could make the same argument though, right? Is that we already have that game. That game already. If you want to do that and have the gacha mechanics, like you have two, right?
Yeah.
If this one is meant to wrap everything up, we don't need that again on top of everything.
More.
There's going to be well enough like side.
I want
main
my
story
Caesar
missions in
salad
this.
next to my burger. Like that's what I want.
There's
That.
a lot of games on Switch, man. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
You want some pasta? You want some... dude, that stuff is just too much.
Nothing but carbs all day, every day. Yo, bread.
Look,
Just give me a whole
Monolith
loaf of bread.
I would rather Monolith Soft take their time and focus on just making a core story, because Monolith Soft,
Yes.
I mean, they are stretched thin, but like realistically, I've said this on multiple videos on multiple occasions, they are, bar none, in my opinion, I'll say it's in my opinion, bar none, the best developer Nintendo has, like far and away. If you look at what they've worked on, they work on the entirety of the Animal Crossing series since New Leaf. They've worked on every Zelda since Skyward Sword. We're primary to Skyward Sword and Breath of the Wild being what they are, as well as Splatoon. When back, if you know the history of Splatoon, you know like it was a different internal team and all this stuff, and then they got Monolith. In addition to doing their own main franchise, being Xenoblade Chronicles, they are goated forever. So whatever they work on. I'm like,
let me
here's
add an
my money,
addendum.
take it.
When you say that, you mean their own independent studio that's owned within Nintendo, or like just the best studio Nintendo is that's within Nintendo,
including EAD.
Okay,
including Game Freak, including HAL, including whatever. The best company developer that they own is Manuel A.
I feel that. No, I feel it. I feel it.
Yeah.
I don't know, but EPD though, like EPD. Though,
well, I'm not a platformer guy, so I don't want to get a bunch of hate.
EPD is really. I think
that's what it is, you know.
See what Roger's saying, because they're thrown so much on their plate. You know.
Oh yeah, no. They're geniuses.
Yeah.
They're magicians.
The reason I brought that up, right, is because I guess I kind of got off topic. Is we know they're working on Breath of the Wild 2 right now. We know.
Oh yeah, easy. Yeah.
They are heavily involved with the development of that game. So I feel like to throw in a Blade gotcha mechanic that would obviously take so much more time to develop those side quests and focus on characters that aren't integral to the main story, I would much rather have like a tight 50-hour, 60-hour Xenoblade experience that's just mind-blowing from beginning to end than have a 500-hour one like Xenoblade 2, which admittedly, I said this earlier, I like 2 more than 1 too. I do. But I still feel like for what this game needs to be, I'd much rather it be a centralized, really honed in, polished experience.
100% agree.
Yeah.
Respectable. Yo,
Yeah,
Monster
100%
Maze.
agree.
Monster Maze. All right. We're throwing the ball over to you. Do you have my back when it comes to the Blade thing, or are you just gonna betray me like the rest of them?
I'm gonna.
I can't see you right now, so like, ah!
My man.
No, like,
I'm alone.
I grew up with games like the Tales series. Like
great choice.
Like Tales of Symphonia is still one of my favorite GameCube games ever.
Oh, easy.
Like I just always have preferred like a small tight group of people that all get like fleshed out very, very well, and at the end you feel like you know all of them, instead of having all these faceless people that don't really contribute to the story that much. Like bigger isn't always better in that regard. So I could do without. Like OJ said, I think the Torna was amazing. Torna played very, very well.
Mm-hmm. And there's not all of them there. They're all gone. All those blades are gone. But Torna's system, they honed in and they focused.
Like gameplay wise, it's like what, 20 hours?
20 hours, but if you want to do
hours.
everything, 60 to 70.
There you go.
You did have the community stuff, which I could have done without a little bit too, because that's one thing that I prefer from 2, is that it did have a little less side quests. I feel obviously side quests are always going to be integral to RPGs in general, but I do feel like some RPGs more and more starts to feel like the amount of side quests is more important than the quality of the side quests. Because I think the first game had like 400 side quests, but like the vast majority of them is just like, hey, I saw this creature in the woods. How about you go collect 50 of them? And it's like 90% of it is just that. And I'd much prefer to just have less side quests, but ones with more depth, and you actually get that's why the Blade side quests in 2 were pretty cool, because you get to know those characters better that way.
Right.
Except for that frozen bear girl. Screw her.
Oh yeah, yo, you know what's funny about Ursula? You know what's hilarious about Ursula? I pulled her like extremely early in the game, right? So I didn't go through like the no. I didn't go through the loops that y'all were complaining about.
It's like, oh my god.
Yeah,
I hate that's what I hate that girl. I hate that girl.
It was like when I did her side quest, I just did it like as I went through the game, so it didn't really like hurt me that much. But I saw how people were like, "Yo, you were Ursula earlier." I'm like, "Yeah, didn't y'all?" And then like I see why everyone.
I did it.
Jeez,
and I dreams of her.
You guys
I
are
dreams
so mad.
Of her in my dreams saying, "Finish my quest. I've got to sing." And I'm just like, ugh. Literally, I seriously, I can't stand her. I can't stand her.
But she's one of the best blades in the game.
She is. So she's cool to use, but her blade quest to finish everything is terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
I didn't see it.
Please, Takahashi. We don't need the like. I agree with everybody here, man. Like the centralized. I just think that they're gonna go with it. I think that you can just kind of tell that's what they're gonna go with. And you know another thing. This is kind of maybe unique to me, but they released those blades that were like each day or whatever, they released like a new blade, and I covered each one, and I got so tired of covering that crap too. So like, that's just the thing on my head. I was like, every day, hey OJ, you gonna talk about this blade that's short? I'm like, sure, yeah, I'll make a video on it. So I was just like, please, we don't need that. I don't need to make 50 videos on different blades coming out, because they did it for every single blade.
This man found a content system, starts complaining about it. I see you.
Hey, look, man.
I think it's more interesting to see what blades from Xenoblade 2 made it into Xenoblade 3. Like, however they made the void period and what they were doing, then. I think that's interesting. I want to know more on the blades that we have.
I feel like Dromark is a given. I think that's like what, especially knowing Mia's in there. I think Dromark's for sure going to show up at some point. And I think Pyra and Mythra are also like for sure going to show up. I mean, we know already, like the voice actor for Pyra and Mythra has been like, I'm working on this thing I can't talk about. So it's like, oh, okay, you're in Xenoblade 3. So I feel like that's probably another one you could.
So excited. There's so many possibilities. Look at all this stuff. Oh my gosh, dude, September. How did you guys feel? I know HMK, I don't know if how did you guys feel this September? HMK, I want to like if you're gonna I know you're gonna go to something else, but September, was that not like the hypest thing ever?
Yo, I was so hyped. I was so happy, but I was also so mad. I'm like, bro, how the fuck we got a release date for this and not Breath of the Wild 2 still?
Well, that's E3. I mean, that's like no doubt.
I'm so tired of like.
No, but like even if you look at this past Direct, I know we've been focusing on Xenoblade stuff, and I don't want to take away from it, but just like I think it's important to note, we had a lot of stuff that was announced during this where they actually meant it when they said most of this is the beginning part of the year. I think when you look at what E3 is going to be and what's coming out, I think we're going to get like one big final trailer for Xenoblade at E3, right? Because that's September. E3 will be like around June, right?
Special edition too.
There's probably going to be some type of Splatoon invitational because Splatoon Summer. It'll probably be like July or August. And then I think the good majority of the rest of E3 is going to be focused on Breath of the Wild 2.
No, they better
big holiday game. So
they better do that same shit like at E3 2016 where they took like 5 minutes to like show off, hey, here's Pokemon, hey, here's that, hey, here's this, and then just like 35 minutes of Zelda. Yeah.
The only thing is that year was an in-person E3. They had the awesome Breath of the Wild booth. There's no in-person E3 this year. So I do think they'll probably end up doing something like Treehouse as well, like what they did the past couple years where they have like the Treehouse Live and they're going through demos of games. But I think the majority of those demos and the majority of the Direct really will be spent on Breath of the Wild. I mean, like if you look at just their release lineup and what they've already said for this year, now that that's 2 years in a row, they've said it's coming out this year. So I feel like it's different, right? They've been working on that since the original Breath of the Wild. The reason Breath of the Wild was delayed so much comparatively to like a lot of those other Zelda games is it was moving systems, right? It sort of fell in the same timeline that Twilight Princess did as well, too. I think there was, one major delay for Skyward Sword? I think they announced it. There was one major delay, and that was it. And we've already had that major delay for Breath of the Wild 2, and it's been in development longer. So I don't think you have anything to worry about, man.
And plus, I mean, again, having it end the year off would probably be the best. I mean, when you think about it, too, I saw a picture on Twitter showing, like, the first year Switch came out, all of these games, Breath of the Wild, all sorts of games. And then looking at the lineup for this year, and it's darn near similar with like a lot of
Xenoblade
3, Xenoblade, Pokemon game 2. Yeah, so like we got Xenoblade coming out in September, and you end the year off with Breath of the Wild 2? It's a wrap. That's how system like people.
Bayonetta 3 in between there. And Bayonetta 3 probably in between there.
Most likely a mainline Fire Emblem game still. That's like the big rumor. So I feel like that's probably also going to be showing up at some point. The only other one that I think people sleep on in terms of like things that are unannounced for this year is I do think there probably will be like a big Mario title that's not just like Strikers or the DLC for Mario Kart, only because you've got Nintendo World officially debuting in Hollywood this year. You've got the Mario movie, and there's no way Nintendo's not going to release a game, not necessarily tied with that Mario movie, but some type of Mario game to then push along with that. And we also, again, don't know what the Odyssey team is working on. There were rumors about a Donkey Kong, but like it could very well be another Mario. So,
and Nintendo loves to slot a game in that week before Black Friday. It's either Pokemon or Zelda or Mario.
And we're in a weird situation with Pokemon where we just got Arceus, and I do feel like it's too early for Gen 9, so I don't think they're going to jump right into Gen 9.
If anything,
maybe
Gen
they'll
9
do the
will probably happen
DLC
next
for
year.
Arceus. Yeah, I mean, they could very well. They had like that big major push for Sword and Shield as well with the DLC, right? Where they re-released it around the holiday season with that full expansion pack. I could totally see them doing that for Arceus this year and having a really sizable amount of DLC for that game coming out alongside it, and then really pushing right for the holiday season, being like, you want these big expansive games. You see that I could see the marketing campaign now. You got Xenoblade 3, Pokemon Legends Arceus, and Breath of the Wild 2, and it's like the biggest games, the biggest platform, Nintendo Switch. Boom, like.
Nintendo Switch has games.
And a Mario game.
Yeah.
Because that was pretty much 2017, right?
Yeah.
In 2017, we got Xenoblade, we got Mario Odyssey, we got Breath of the Wild. So if this year we're going to have Xenoblade 3, Breath of the Wild 2, and a new Mario title, it's just going to, plus all the stuff we already get and already know. We got Kirby. This year is going to trump 2017, which I thought was not going to be possible.
Yeah.
Man,
and we already know is coming well out, like Metroid Prime 4 that we're not going to see this year. So like,
definitely not.
There's opportunity for teasers there too.
You know, like there's just like this year's card is already like super stacked. If we're gonna consider Breath of the Wild 2 still releasing this year, it's just that other aspects like an actual mainline Fire Emblem or a new Mario game, that feels like a little too much. And like when it comes to Nintendo, like sure they proved me wrong with 2017, like. Sure, they've done it before. Will they do it again? I don't know, because I've been disappointed before when it comes to like their release scheduling throughout the year. But I would love to see all that and more, and just like ending off with Breath of the Wild 2. But I just need a little bit more transparency with that game. Definitely if they want to say that it's 2022 and we still don't even have a name. How big of a spoiler can it really be unless you don't want to actually show more of the game yet?
I'm gonna relay that to the lore queen, Nikljj, who has been dubbed officially by Nintendo. The lore queen, even though I think my argument about the dungeon was better, but I think, you know what? It's fine.
I saw that and I'm like...
I was literally about to direct it back to you, though. I was like, we only have a number 3 for Xenoblade Chronicles 3. We have part of a trailer, and Roger just like gave us a whole like synopsis.
Well, okay, if we do a Xenoblade lore, I mean, I'm good on that, but...
No, what I'm saying is, like, we have barely any context as it is, besides just a trailer, and we're already going ham. Now imagine what a title could do.
Right.
And especially with as many details and as vast of a world as Breath of the Wild has already had, like I'm sure they're just like they're gonna run with it, and something's gonna happen, and someone's gonna leak something or interrogate something, and it's not worth it right now,
Man,
so,
but conversation creates sales, man. Like
personally, I still think Breath of the Wild's getting delayed. That's.
I don't blame you.
How late though?
I
Because
honestly don't believe you.
I really truly don't think it's going to be beyond March next year. I think that's the absolute latest. Is they delay it to spring to like
anniversary would be latest,
on the anniversary. That's like the latest.
The only problem that I see with that is that there would have to be something that takes that November slot. Pokemon DLC couldn't. I mean, it could be that, but I don't think so. It's not going to be the next gen. It's not going to be Fire Emblem. Will be announced this year. I think Fire Emblem is going to be the one more thing at the fall direct. That will be the one more thing.
There you go.
The fall direct. It's probably going to launch. Fire Emblem games launch first half. Fire Emblem games usually don't launch second half. They'll launch either summer or May. They never are enders or fall games. So it's going to be the first half game.
I don't even know about Metroid. So.
Yeah, I mean, right. The Metroid Prime remake, that was the big rumor, and that could very well slot into the November thing as well.
I don't think they put the Metroid Prime remake as November. I don't think that would be. It would have to be. It needs to be Zelda, Pokemon, or Mario.
Well, I was about to say. Because we do. I mean, also we do have the Pokemon DLC, and didn't they actually do that with Sword and Shield with Crown Tundra? Release that near the end of the year. So
but I mean, that wasn't the only thing that was releasing.
That wasn't the big game though.
Yeah. What was the big game last year?
Hyrule Warriors last year.
Last year was Dread.
Hyrule Warriors.
2021 or 2020?
2021 was Dread. I mean, that's
it was Dread. Last year was Dread.
Dread's even more of a case, though. I mean, I would say I would claim it to be a bigger game than Dread, to be honest.
Diamond and Pearl was was the biggest game for 2021. That was the biggest game
from the Pokemon side for sure. But I mean, in terms of like their actual like their first party stuff. It was Metroid, right? I mean,
Mario Party Superstars.
Pokemon is like hit or miss.
Yeah, Mario Party Superstars.
I mean, that game sold. Dude, that game sold like 6 million copies. It's already, and it's gonna keep selling.
That goes back to what I was saying earlier with the Mario game, right? Is it doesn't have to necessarily be an Odyssey 2, but some type of Mario experience. I think, and I don't just think it'll be like DLC for Mario Kart. I think it has to be something like that.
New Super Mario Bros. Switch.
I mean, it could be a Mario Maker,
like whatever. Sure,
Yeah.
No
sure.
more Mario Maker,
Probably won't be a
please,
Mario
please.
Maker. Mario Maker, I was gonna say, sold pretty bad. So I don't know, like.
And
I think
then
that's yeah.
Please retire Mario Maker.
another
Yeah,
thing to
it's
consider
complete.
is that a lot of people's been saying Bayonetta 3, and I don't think Bayonetta 3 would be like a November game. You know,
I
if
think
it's
it's
it-
like a Halloween.
It's a Halloween
Yeah,
game.
Halloween.
yeah,
exactly,
October,
yeah.
October, but not
That's
the
a
November game.
Metroid Dread type of situation, right?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly,
that's
right
a
there, yeah.
Hardcore gamers, you know, somewhere in the 2-3 million range in terms of
Yeah.
popularity. Like that would be perfect as October.
Oh man, I
Oh,
completely
Skyline.
forgot. Yo,
Yeah.
Mario Rabbids is coming out this
Exactly.
year. So
Exactly.
that's
There's a
fun.
Mario
Yeah.
game for the fall, right? Exactly. I forgot about
Yeah.
Mario Rabbids.
Would that be like a summer game? Because I know the
No,
first one
well,
came out in
We didn't see
August.
it during this, right? This was
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
games in the first half of the year.
Yeah, it's probably gonna
that
come out
could
in fall.
easily be an E3 thing, yeah, and that's their fall Mario game. There you go. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's Ubisoft's game though. You got to remember that is
Yeah,
that
but
is
it still-
literally
it
a
fills that
party game.
spot of
Mario.
It fills that
of major
Mario.
Mario title.
Mario.
If you want a review code, you go through Ubisoft. Like legit, did you guys get a review code for that game?
Oh, actually, no, I got a review code for that game from Nintendo, so I don't know what you're talking about. Hashtag
Oh, I
free game,
got
hashtag
from
free product. I'm like,
like, hey, it's Ubisoft. This is our game. Here's a code. I was
Yeah.
like, okay. I went through Ubisoft. Okay, Nintendo gave you one. Where's
Yeah.
mine at Nintendo? I have to go through.
That's free
I went through
product. They don't
Ubisoft.
give
It's
you one
terrible.
Now,
Come on, no.
I think we're almost at time, but to end off the stream, here's one more question to like get you guys like hyped up for the identity of Xenoblade Chronicles 3. So, how'd you guys feel when, like, honestly, I was too much into the zone and I didn't really notice it until after the fact. How do you guys feel seeing the end of the trailer of Xenoblade Chronicles 3 with the Makana sword, like messing up the Uriah Titan? How'd you guys feel about that? Like that perfect marriage of like 1 and 2 together. Is like you have the sword from the Makana's from 1, and one of the Titans like, damn, rip the Titan, bro, because I'm pretty sure that
Bro.
Titan's dead now.
I just need
I'm gonna
to
throw
know.
it to Endakuba. So go
Yeah,
ahead.
because
How you feel
I
about
can't
that?
stay quiet on this.
Yeah.
What happened to Uriah? That's all. Okay, the
It's
Makana's is
dead.
gone. Can nobody wield that gigantic mechanical weapon? All right. What sliced Uriah? That's all I need to know, right? And not only that, just like seeing that obviously ultimately bridges the two worlds together, right? And oh my god, bro. Okay, no, I gotta pass to somebody else. My brain is like floating right now. I can't even think straight.
Uriah was actually one of my favorite regions too. That sucks.
I just want
Yeah.
it. I don't
Yeah.
have anything to add. I want it. I want to see. I just want it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I'm gonna say. I want it.
same.
That's it.
That's literally it.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
The period that we're in is very interesting, but getting that backstory of what happened is even more interesting to me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because that's like what we can't elude from the trailer, right? Like the stuff from the trailer is all like the stuff I brought up earlier, right? With the flutes or like you're supposed to be dead, all this other kind of stuff. But we don't have that story. And so that's why I'm like, I could theory craft away all day and I don't feel like I'm spoiling the game for myself. Because this primary thing I have no idea about. Yeah.
And
What
still
about you?
also-
It's hard to say. Yeah, it's hard to say what happened in that context because at the end of the first game, I think Shulk just says like, "All right, hit the erase button. We're gonna start over," and a new landmass arises. So technically, like the two Titans in that game are practically gone. And then the end of 2, all the Titans come together and they couldn't merge together into a new continent. So why Uriah specifically in this? That's what I want to know. Why Uriah specifically? Because obviously Uriah was at war with Morardain at the time. That was like their big adversary in that game. Obviously at the end that's all resolved. But you know that's just like how does that gonna tie together again? I have no idea. I couldn't even think of a reason how.
Well, you know
I wonder
what?
if that's gonna be like a beginning like sequence, just like in the prologue, kind of like in the beginning.
Yeah.
Of
Oh,
one.
yeah.
Right, where you see
That'd
the
be
Makana
great,
and
yeah.
Bionis fight in the beginning of 1.
Literally, like the first 5 minutes, you know.
Yeah. I'd love that.
Yeah.
But it also makes me think that Roger may have actually been onto something, bro. And I say that because personally speaking, for Xenoblade 2, Uriah was like one of my favorite areas because again, Venom's the GOAT, you know what I'm saying? Rock was fire, et cetera, et cetera. And again, in the trailer, we see somebody who kind of does look like Vandom, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like again, the whole notion of like potentially bringing people back to life, it's
Yeah.
not a lost concept at all. It's entirely possible. So now knowing that that is a potential possibility, yes, I need to know what killed Araya. Is Vandam back? Like, what is going on? I need to know. I have so many questions. I need answers. That's all I need.
But I just like the one thing I'm thinking of, and of course, you know, there's way too many variables in play in order for this to like actually be true, but it could be, is that, you know, at one time, like in the future of Xenoblade 1 and 2, but in the backstory of 3, you know, everyone was at peace, yada yada, but then, you know, the people on Uriah, they're chilling, and then out of nowhere, just like the Makan's floor just starts flying at them out of nowhere, completely fucks up that Titan, right? And then I feel that could have been like the first act of war between the two factions of, you know, Banas Makanis and Arrest, and then, you know, that could lead into the ideas like, oh, who, you know, oh, did Han shoot first in like Star Wars? Like, oh, did the Mekon and Hams, you know, strike first? They're the ones who threw the sword. Oh no, like they didn't throw the sword at first. So, like, what happened to Uriah could have been an accident. You know, the same reason of like, you know, the backstory of what happened to the Mekon in Xenoblade 1. Maybe a little similar to that. But I don't know. We're gonna have to wait and see.
A quick question: Is there any like confirmation that there is gonna be something about bringing people back to life in this story?
If you read the interview from Takahashi, I did that theory craft earlier. But if you read the interview from Takahashi, he said the main theme of this game is life. And birth. And so if you look at the trailer and you've got the blue things that come from the blades and the, you know, you're supposed to be dead, who are you? We've got ticking clocks. It's just combining those two ideas. That's not confirmed or anything yet, but when Takahashi straight up says the theme is life, that should be your indicator.
Because I myself was under the impression that like I wasn't thinking like these two characters, the I think her name is Mio and and Noah.
Mio and Noah,
I was not under the impression that these guys are friends or childhood friends. I thought they were they were both from different factions, and they're like, oh, you're basically me, you have the same role as me, but in your respective.
That's right.
So
and they come into close quarters, and instead of killing each other, they're trying to reason with each other.
Exactly.
Yeah, something like that. And because you said they're playing the white flute and the black flute, like
the opposite flutes, right?
Yeah, but in the beginning he is wearing black and he's playing the black flute. So I'm almost like inclined to believe that they kind of swap flutes and they're like, you know, get to know each other's culture in that way.
For sure.
And,
there's literally a scene where they exchange flutes in the trailer.
Yeah.
Also, the new Hyentia girl, you see her for the first time in the artwork with like the white wings on her head, and then in the scene at the end of the trailer, she's got black wings coming out of her head. So it's like, oh, what does this mean? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I thought that I read something about that they are like spirit, like they are tied to spirits in some way. Like they ease the. I thought it was like they ease the regrets of the deceased or something who died on the battlefield.
There you go.
A bit like the spirit senders from Final Fantasy X. You know.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of what was going on there, but I'm not sure now. Yeah. At least
we don't know.
We don't know.
That's the
exciting thing about it. It's like
a trailer that doesn't give away too much.
Yeah.
You know
for sure. Well, you can speculate a lot of stuff from it, but you don't know.
Exactly. It's like it's well put together. The cutscenes, the music, everything hits the way it needs to. It gives you kind of a general idea, but it doesn't give it away. And that's what I really love about when media does that.
I still need gameplay.
Yes.
Oh, that gameplay is coming. E3. Oh my god, that E3 trailer.
Xenoblade Chronicles 3.
And then it's going to show that special edition at the end of it, and everyone's like, pre-order before they're all gone. You know, like, because they're always all gone. You know, so
official Xenoblade Joy-Cons. I know they made the Xenoblade
control controller.
Yeah, but no Joy-Cons. Yeah, no Joy-Cons. That'd be really cool with some Joy, like even like a special edition Switch with Xenoblade. Oh my god, that would be.
Fair,
each Joy-Con will be the designs of each flute.
What were you saying, Click?
I still wish there was a Zelda Pro controller. Like flat
That's Breath of the Wild 2. I'm telling you, man. You get like golden Joy-Cons, and because I thought it was weird when Skyward Sword came out and they did the Zelda ones, which are gorgeous. I love them. Yeah. But they're blue. And it's like you still haven't done gold Joy-Cons yet. Like it seems like they're saving it for
when they come out with a Pro controller for Breath of the Wild 2, it's gonna be green. It's gonna be
There
great.
you go.
The
Green Pro
green.
controller and gold Joy-Cons. There you go. Green light.
I like how you keep saying gold Joy-Con. It ain't gonna happen. Stop trying to make it
We'll
happen.
see,
We
man,
got
I'm telling you.
the
Nintendo
gold
already
remote
proved
if we were to have it. Like,
Listen,
Fucking-
no one's gonna take the bigger L than me than when I'm watching that Zelda Direct or whatever when Inu-san's talking and they showed the Switch Lite and I thought the Switch Lite was gold. And I'm freaking out. I'm like, what is that Switch Lite? And everybody's like, it's yellow. And I'm like, don't tell me that it's gold.
Gold would've been
It's
so
gold, it's a
nice.
Gold Switch Lite.
That
It was not.
been.
Diamond and Pearl Switch Light from last year is gorgeous, though. Like, if I didn't already
yeah.
have one, I would have gotten one of those. It's so cool looking.
I'm really
Yeah.
considering
I
getting
love
that.
it. Yeah.
Even
But wait, what?
Oh, let's say Nintendo. Just real quick, I know wrapping up, but
Yeah.
they had the special edition. I have the black box edition for Breath of the Wild, the original.
You want to give me that?
That's like over worth $1,000.
You want to give me that?
Like, yeah, it's the big black box that comes with all
Yeah,
sorts
the
of
Master Edition.
Sword.
The Master
the
Edition.
Master Edition. Yeah, it comes with the sword.
Yeah.
I have that, and that's so expensive. And that was like, I think that was like $200. Bro, I barely had $200 in my account at that time, I think. So I risked it all for that.
Yo, you want to give me that?
It's like, so they can do this. They can make a really cool special edition, and people will buy it regardless. I just wanted to say that real quick, you know?
But you want to give me that though?
No. I ate top
Oh
ramen.
my
My
God.
was eating good while I'm over here eating top ramen, bro. No.
Yo,
Fine. OJ's what? He's 48, so he's got maybe another good 20
Yeah.
years. He'll will it to you. You'll be
No,
fine.
no, no. We like take a look at my wall. We can make an exchange. We can trade.
I can't.
Yo, I got this Kingdom Hearts merch that's worth $1,000.
That's great.
Like it's like you want to trade that? Like come on, nah, whatever.
No.
Oh god.
Making deals
So
here
guys, live on stream, you know, we stock trading, whatever this is called, trading, whatever, like item trading. So guys, thank y'all so much for coming on out to this episode of The Fifth Dimension. It has been so much fun talking with my friends about Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Expect more in the future. Xenoblade 3 comes out on Nintendo Switch this September. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be grand. Big thanks to Misclick, Endukuba, OJ, Rogers Bay, Stealth, and Monster Maze for being here on the stream. But before I toss you to the wind, let's go ahead and rate another member of the Fifth Dimension because it is actually no. We're gonna go ahead. No, yeah, you know what? We're gonna go ahead and rate Fidel. Cause this piece of shit is like, you know, streaming.
Actually, wait.
Without
Can I make a suggestion, if I may?
Yeah.
Because Fidel's a co-host of mine on our weekly podcast, Japan Time. Let me throw this one little thing in there. Everybody in chat, if you could just write this in Fidel's chat, just say the phrase, "We know you saw Sophia's TikTok," or just write Sophia's TikTok.
Oh, yep. I know what you're talking about.
He'll know what it means. Just write Sophia's TikTok. That's it. There's the phrase Sophia's TikTok. He'll know. Thank you very much.
So
With an
we're
F,
gonna go
with
ahead
an
and do that. With an F, yeah, with an F. All right, so guys, thank y'all so much for coming on out. Until the next episode of The Fifth Dimension, don't forget to be brave, dive deep, and enter the Fifth Dimension. We'll check you guys later.